there, cosmic wanderers, starseeds, and everyone, aliens, humans. Welcome on back to the Astral Tourist Podcast, where we get weird, funky, floaty, and we definitely leave our physical bodies behind at times. I am your hostess, your traveler, your tourist, your energetic passport to the other side. And today I've got some juicy updates from the astral realms, including blob beings, big hair times, champagne on a yacht, and a possible pit stop near Molokai, Hawaii area. Buckle up, because this episode is a whole vibe. Well, many vibes. Tuck on in, etc. Have some fun with me. So, getting into it. In my first astral projection of the night last night, I zipped on over to the new place I'll be moving into, of course. I've been checking on it constantly. And, just checking the energetic Wi-Fi, making sure no one left a dimensional mess. Well, they did. Some astral beings have been having a party over there. I don't know, but yeah. So I was immediately greeted by three very curious entities. One was a squishy looking blob. Yes, a literal looking blob. Like all bulbous and blobby and kind of an ivory whitish with a smile. It was very odd looking. There was a tall, shadowy, had a major, tall, dark stranger energy, like the Hat Man, but not really. Like maybe a future Hat Man, I don't know. He didn't really have a face, and it wasn't really outlined like the typical Shadow Man. I don't know. It was odd. And the third one, before I could even really begin to make out the third, decided to leap on my back and grabbed onto my back. And when I told them to scram, nothing happened. And then I told them, this is a command. I command you to leave. And then there was just this blank space in the room and total silence. So there's totally still some energy work to do over there, but that's not a big shocker. And it's on the edge of that area I called the Dark Forest I mentioned in my last episode. If you missed that one, go ahead and give it a listen, or not, up to you. It's really not that spooky yet. I've encountered some various astral wildlife in there that's very fairy-esque. But anyway, when the thing would not get off my back in the astral, which means I had actually manifested a back, by the way. You don't have to have one. You can be anything. And so what I did was I shifted into a tiny, almost invisible particle to dodge this back jumper. And let me tell you, the confusion on some of the faces I saw was wild, like chef's kiss. Mwah. They were looking around like someone just yanked the remote from their interdimensional Netflix binge. I don't know. And it never gets old going small like that. So that's one of my big tips to you all. Learn how to shapeshift large and small sizes. And I found it takes less energy to go small than large. And I don't know if that's only for me or if that's like a run-of-the-mill thing in the astral that everyone else has encountered as well. But I find it takes way less energy to become tiny than huge. And I'm sure that's just a perception thing. Well, kind of sure. Like I said, I don't really know. I think it's just a perception thing. Like if you're to become massive, but you're very gaseous perhaps, then, no mass. That could be good, right? Could be wild. So for those of you learning how to deal with astral pests, I've got a whole episode on that in my how-to playlist. So overall, the space had that minty green glow I noticed before. So lots of progress, but yeah, some intruders there, but not really intruders. I have not yet set boundaries energetically or done any sealing of the space. So I don't really want to call them intruders officially. I mean, probably they were curious. What's this green stuff going on? I don't know. But anyway, it was kind of fun to shock them and just be nothing or almost nothing all of a sudden. So yeah, fun. Just one more tip. A lot of times in the astral, it's about idea concepts, and this can help with actual communication with other kinds of beings too, like aliens. I'm saying aliens, but I mean like, conscious beings from other planets and things. Sometimes when you can't communicate like word for word, you can just broadcast ideas. But in this case, of course, I was just, going small, the idea of small. And then they couldn't see me because they weren't even thinking that way. So, just be creative. So in my second astral projection of the evening, and yes, I'm remembering them more now, yay, I found myself aboard a yacht. Not a cruise ship, a yacht. And, in the past, oftentimes it's been a cruise ship. And so on this yacht, though, I was sailing through what felt like a luxury kind of dream space. I was with somebody I know, whom I can't remember now actually very well. And I remember that he drifted off to explore somewhere else pretty quickly, like he had something to go do. So we were greeted, before he left, we were greeted by an older woman in a glowing white dress. And she kind of radiated like a bridal aura mixed with ancient cruise director vibes, mixed with a little alien-esque, like, I don't know, the Ashtar Command, I don't know. And she handed us champagne, glasses filled with champagne. She clinked my glass, telepathic toast and all, like, welcome aboard stuff. And she took, I noticed her looking a long look at me a little bit, but not like sarcastically or anything. And just mind to mind, like a quiet thought that, she broadcasted that I might want to, something a little more suitable to wear. So yeah, pretty sure I was cruising the astral seas in my birthday suit or just something too outrageous. I don't know. I did not take a 360 look at myself, but when somebody tells me that, I don't really need to. I'll just trust them. Like, yeah, I gotta do more here. So she led me to a tiny onboard shop, not really like miniature, but it was just like this one little tiny stall on the deck of the yacht. And I ended up trying on a lavender and blue tie-dye dress. Very flowy, very vibey, felt a little bit heavy like cotton. So when I did turn on my 360 to check it out, because that time I did, and the reason I reserve it is because it does take energy to do this, especially when I'm not like in a higher dimension, like I'm just like mid-astral-ish or even mid to high. I reserve my energy, So I did take a look. I wanted to know what I was going to be wearing. And I noticed something even more wild. My hair was like a super light blonde, not quite white, only shoulder length, and straight out of a 1980s hair commercial. Think poofy, permed, and proud. I was standing tall. There is my hair. There is the tie-dye dress. So this isn't my first big hair astral experience. My form in the astral tends to blend with the actual environment kind of naturally, and I think I kind of picked that up from the fairies. If you haven't heard my story, again, it's in there in some of my playlists, and my origins. It's the origins one. And I couldn't help wondering if I phased into a different time period, perhaps, or a kind of parallel layer because of the whole 80s look there. But maybe the yacht was just, had a 1980s theme or retro luxury. So it could have been any of those things. And I wasn't overthinking it at the time. I was just happy to be there, chilling, So I was also cracking up quite a bit, like to myself, like, whoa. And there was this time in the 80s I did 80s, 90s. I think a couple of times I had some bad perms out there in the past. So yeah, that's totally me. But this one wasn't really a bad perm. It was just like, whoa. And then somebody handed me a receipt for the dress, which guess I means I bought it in the Astral. Usually I do some kind of trade in the Astral, so I'm thinking I had some credit. I don't know. I could have. I've discussed a lot about transactions in the Astral before. So later on, my energy dipped, and I found myself literally crawling across the deck of this yacht. I really wanted to see what was coming up, I guess, because it was like constantly on that deck. And a few of the beings, which were kind of ambiguous looking to me, probably human, but I don't know, helped me onto this glowing white lounger chair. Now, I've seen these before in astral malls and shops, various places. They are not only chairs, they are recharge points. So these are places that are preloaded with energy. So like celestial pool furniture that are charged up. Like your own little personal massage area or something. Only I was not getting a massage. I just kind of zoned out and recharged. Eventually, as I was coming around again, after being in that lounger for I don't know how long, someone telepathed that there would be an information session coming up. And somebody else was like thinking to themselves or towards me. I'm not sure, as I was like, my lucidity was coming on back. Something about Tai Chi, like we could do Tai Chi if we wanted to or something. It was a little fuzzy. I maybe was just hearing various announcements. But before I could find out, it took me a while to come back around. The yacht was approaching these massive cliffs in the distance. And I knew from just other people thinking about it, and just from, they felt familiar that this was an island. I knew this was an island. And so I was thinking maybe the Molokai Cliffs over in the Hawaii area, because I've often autonomously astral projected to Hawaii before. Well, not often anymore. I used to often, and now just sometimes. So it's somewhere I've been before. It's possible. I was looking at them, and it all felt really familiar, how the yacht was coming up to them and how it wasn't flat. It's right up to the cliffs is the exit point. So the yacht pulls right up to the vertical face, and then we are actually meant to climb or ascend or fly the cliffs. That's the trip. That's the astral trip. That's where this cruise yacht thing goes. And I already knew that. And so it was natural for me to like get off and float. And I was only about halfway up to like a smooth ledge, and it began to glow white. And that's when I woke up. Classic cliffhanger. So I wasn't even trying to like actually grab on and climb. I knew I was tired. The white, I think, was just like a little, hey, you're coming back. Instead of getting the classic pull, I got a flashing white. So sometime before 4 a.m., this is moving on to another one, using a wake back to bed method, I phased into what looked like a golden futuristic city. So I don't remember making an intention to go to the future, but I did make an intention to find out what that being Ezekiel had to say to me or wanted to share with me from a previous astral projection. And so I remember I had done that, and I saw the gold and the futuristic city, but the street level was all grayish. So I was there and moving through it at the same time. It was kind of autonomous again, even though I had set, the intention. I just wanted more clarity about him and what he's here to help me with. This being Ezekiel. I don't think it's like Ezekiel from the Bible. I don't know who it is, but he feels higher dimensional and like, just trying to help out. So I found myself autonomously guided into an apartment or a meeting room or something. There were these tall buildings and, outlined in gold and stuff, kind of hazy, where there were other men gathered around a glowing white round table. I know someone's going to laugh about this who's listening. Yeah, the round table, right? Well, that just happened to me last night before I heard about the round table and another, in someone else's podcast. I'll leave it at that. So the host was this large friendly guy who beamed at me and said he thought we should all meet since we're all astral projectors, an astral support group of a kind. So, I looked down to see what I was wearing because I did not want to be wearing my birthday suit for that, right? And I was still rocking the 1980s tie-dye dress and the big hair stuff going on. So, a little embarrassing in a futuristic setting, but hey, if this is supposed to be an astral travel support group or something, they should get it, right? So, communication was a little rough for me though. My full energy isn't back yet, and I wish it was. I wasn't hearing clearly. But one of the guys there mentioned he was from Korea. And he didn't say north or south. I have no idea what kind of Korea, or Korea in the future, a parallel Korea, and another timeline. I don't know. Again, this is like a bit in the future with the golden outlines and things. And another, I think, I'm guessing, had Swiss vibes or maybe Netherlands. He was wearing gray pajamas and he didn't say much. He was a little bit zoned out, but still trying to stay really anchored and focused in there at that table. And the host pointed out something about the space, like I should be looking around the space, making notes. So I was doing that, and things seemed a little bit cluttered. I saw some yellows, but they weren't goldens. A little bit messy. Sorry, but it was. And, I was trying to just get more details and anchor myself into that area more. And there was that round table, like I said. And so I asked how big it was in physical terms because, I'm moving. So, I'm thinking of everything in square feet lately. And, in the astral, everything seems to be exaggerated on this larger scale. And it did seem like quite a large space. But he said it was about 1,200 feet. So it definitely felt larger than 1,200 feet in the astral. So that's all I was really able to get. I didn't really hone in on anything specific. I wasn't trying to. I can just report what I see in the astral, and that's what I do. And I hope that, eventually one day this will all help somebody somehow, somewhere. I wish I'd gotten more from that meeting, but overall I'm calling this night a success. So I can feel the recovery from the travel fatigue kicking in. And now that the stress of moving has eased, thank goodness, I'm ready to get back to more interdimensional exploration. So I have not actually made the big move yet, but I have a place. I know where it is. I'm in the middle of, elevating the energy over there with distance energy vibes. I will be moving by the end of the month and settled. And so, I guess that's good enough for me because I'm already out there. I'm recovering from the, travel stuff, and I'm feeling better overall. The temperature has been lowering here in the area where I live. I have AC, but it's not always enough. So when the temperature comes down, I do better too with that. So thanks for riding the astral waves with me today. I try to load as much information in as I can. I've done loads of how-to videos already and stuff for people that have asked me how do I specifically astral project. So check those out if that's what you would like to know. If you enjoyed this journey, or if you ever dodged a blob, or ended up in an astral outfit you just were going well about, hit that like button, subscribe, or leave a comment about your own adventures. Until next time, lots of love, everybody, and happy astral travels.